Scorpio, there is a truth moving beneath the surface of your life. A truth you have sensed for far longer than you are willing to admit. A truth you have felt in the quietest corners of your intuition. In the heaviness behind your ribs. In the strange tug of energy that returns to you at night when the world finally stops speaking. And that truth is this: there is someone who cannot get over you. Someone who cannot forget you. Someone who cannot loosen their grip on the memory of you no matter how many times they have tried. Someone whose mind and body have been marked by your presence in a way they never anticipated and have not been able to escape. The original document speaks about a person who tried everything to forget but never succeeded. Yet, with Scorpio, the story is far more intense, far more haunting. Because you do not simply appear in someone's life and disappear afterward, you leave behind an imprint, a psychic echo, a spiritual aftertaste that lingers inside them long after your physical presence is gone. What consumes this person is not nostalgia, not longing, not romanticized memory, but a kind of visceral pull they cannot rationalize. They have tried to force themselves forward, tried to cauterize the wound, tried to tell themselves that what happened between you was just another chapter meant to close. But every attempt collapses. Every defense fails. Every effort to move on backfires. What frustrates them most is not that they still care about you, but that they have lost control over how powerfully they feel. That their emotions behave like an animal dragging them back to you against their will. That your name, your voice, your energy still lives inside them with a clarity that should have faded but hasn't. They despise this power you hold over them, yet they are drawn to it in the same breath. Unable to sever a connection that feels more like a haunting than a memory. Scorpio, you have always known this about yourself, even if you never said it aloud when you bond with someone. You do not bond in fragments. You do not bond in pretty pieces. You do not bond in safe, shallow waters. You bond through the soul, through the shadow, through the unspoken, through the electric, unfiltered intensity that terrifies people precisely because it exposes their truth. You do not accidentally touch someone's life. You excavate them. You break through their defenses. You illuminate corners of them they have never dared to explore. This is why this person cannot get over you, not because the connection was perfect or easy or peaceful, but because in your presence they encountered a version of themselves they had never seen before. A version more alive, more honest, more vulnerable, more raw. The original document says, you made them feel more alive than anyone else ever did. And for Scorpio, that statement carries an even deeper meaning. You awakened their soul. And once someone's soul has been awakened, ordinary life becomes unbearable. They have tried running from the memory of you, tried bearing the intensity, tried replacing you with new faces, new conversations, even new relationships. But nothing reaches the same depth. Nothing hits the same chord. Nothing replicates the ignition they felt with you. When they go out with someone new, they compare. When they laugh with someone else, the laughter does not rise from the same place. When someone touches them, they feel nothing. They are haunted by contrast. They keep searching for the emotional voltage you brought into their life. And each failed attempt only pulls them deeper into the awareness that what they had with you cannot be substituted or faked or diluted. At night, when the mind quiets and the masks fall away, that is when your presence becomes loudest for them. They remember details they thought they had forgotten. They feel emotions they tried to suppress. They replay moments that come back sharper than photographs. They hear a song, see a place, read a phrase that reminds them of you. And something inside them tightens, contracts, aches. It is not just longing, it is withdrawal. They are addicted to the emotional depth they experienced with you. And nothing else gives them the same intoxication. And the part that devastates them most is the belief that you have moved on without carrying the same weight. That you, being Scorpio, have slipped back into your shadows, rebuilt yourself in silence, and continued forward with the same unshakable resilience that once attracted them. They imagine you unbothered, composed, focused, stable, while they remain stuck in the looping echo of what you awakened inside them. This imbalance tortures them, because they cannot understand how something that affected them so profoundly did not destroy you the same way. But Scorpio, that is your nature. You were built for transformation. You were built to rise after endings. You were built to shed skins and keep walking. Meanwhile, they are still living inside the version of themselves they were when they stood in front of you and felt seen in a way they have not felt since. You did not mean to haunt them. You did not mean to stay inside them. You did not mean to become unforgettable. But you did. And this is only the beginning of what is coming next. As this person tries desperately to break free from your gravitational pull, Scorpio, something inside them begins to unravel in ways they did not anticipate. Because the more they attempt to rationalize their feelings, the more irrational those feelings become. And the harder they fight the connection, the deeper into it they sink. They tell themselves that it is over, that you have moved on, that they must move on too. And yet every time they attempt to detach, something catches them by the throat, a memory, a scent, a dream, a flash of your voice, a sudden grip of emotion that feels too strong to belong to the past. The original document explains that this person tried replacing you with distractions, but the emptiness persisted. And with Scorpio, the emptiness is not mild, it is cavernous, consuming, echoing with the realization that nothing they chase gives them the same sense of aliveness they felt with you. They cannot extinguish the connection because it was never just emotional, it was energetic, karmic, and soul deep. And such connections do not dim with time, they intensify. They walk through their everyday life pretending they are fine, presenting normalcy to the world. But beneath the surface, their thoughts loop back to you with a stamina that both fascinates and terrifies them. They replay conversations you had, moments where your eyes lingered on them a little too long, memories of the way your energy pressed against theirs, making them feel exposed and electrified at the same time. And what confuses them most is that they have tried to fall for other people. They have given chances, opened doors, attempted to rewrite the story with someone new. But every attempt ends in quiet disappointment because the emotional bandwidth is not there. They feel numb with others, or bored, or restless, or unseen. Because the connection they had with you raised their threshold for intimacy so high that no one else can touch it. You altered their emotional chemistry, reshaped their internal landscape, and now everything else feels muted, as if the world has lost its color. What they fear admitting even to themselves is how much they miss the intensity of you. The way your presence pulled emotions out of them they didn't know they were capable of feeling. The way you challenged them without trying. The way your silence spoke louder than most people shouting. The way you could read their moods before they said a word. And though this scared them while you were in their life, they now crave it with an ache that embarrasses them. They resent you for this power yet cling to the memory of it, torn between wanting relief from the bond and wanting to drown in it all over again. You live inside them not as a soft recollection but as a pulse, a rhythm, an imprint. The original document mentions that this person feels pulled back to you by a force they cannot explain. And for Scorpio, that force is not metaphorical, it is palpable energy. They think of you not because they choose to, but because the bond itself is alive, still humming between you, still transmitting fragments of emotion, memory, and unresolved desire. Every time they think they have broken it, it resurrects, stronger than before. as if the universe itself refuses to let them detach until they face the truth of what this connection actually means. This terrifies them, because they realize they are up against something bigger than logic, something older than the two of you, something that feels intertwined with fate, timing, karma, and unfinished business. Their dreams have begun shifting as well. You appear in fragmented images, sometimes standing at a distance, sometimes close enough to touch, sometimes speaking words they don't remember you ever saying, sometimes looking at them with the same gaze that once shook them awake. They wake up unsettled, confused, shaken by how real it feels. And though they try to dismiss it as coincidence, they cannot escape the sense that you are communicating with them on a level beyond language. They tell no one about this because they fear sounding delusional, yet the dreams persist, each one tightening the cord between you. And then there is the guilt. The heavy, suffocating guilt for the way they handled things, for the words they didn't say, for the distance they created, for the fear that drove them away, for the ways they sabotaged or misunderstood you. They replay the ending in their mind and feel a sting that does not fade. They wonder what would have happened if they had stayed, if they had been honest, if they had been braver, if they had matched your depth instead of shrinking from it. This regret is a constant companion now, whispering reminders of everything that could have been, everything they lost by running from intensity instead of embracing it. What haunts them most is the fear that you have already closed the chapter, that the door they secretly want to reopen is now sealed because they took too long to realize what you truly meant to them. They imagine you evolving, healing, transforming, becoming even more magnetic, more powerful, more unreachable, and the thought of someone else experiencing the version of you they weren't ready for almost destroys them. They feel the weight of their mistake in every moment of silence. But Scorpio, the connection between you has not ended. It is forming again, gathering momentum, shifting under the surface of your lives. This is not the conclusion. This is the build-up to something returning. As this connection deepens inside them like a fever they cannot cool. Scorpio, something else begins happening beneath their awareness. Something they do not admit even in their most private thoughts. Because alongside the longing and the regret and the sleepless nights replaying every moment with you, there is a fear rising in their chest, fear not of you, but of the version of themselves they became when they were with you. They remember how exposed they felt in your presence, how every mask they wore cracked without warning, how every defense they built over the years collapsed just from the way you looked at them. And that feeling rattles them now because they have never been that open with anyone else, and they do not know if they can handle being that open again. But the truth is that this vulnerability is also what pulls them back toward you like a tide they cannot resist. Because they tasted a level of emotional truth with you that they have not been able to recreate. And it leaves them wandering through their days with an emptiness that grows heavier the longer they deny it. They try to convince themselves that they are imagining it, that no bond should be able to survive this long in silence, that people eventually fade from memory if enough time passes. Yet you haven't faded. You've intensified. The more distance there is between your lives, the more sharply your energy cuts through them at unexpected moments. And they find themselves jolted by reminders of you in the smallest things, a song lyric, a scent in the air, someone wearing the same color you once did, or a random phrase that hits them exactly the way your voice used to. They are haunted not by who you were in their life, but by who they became after losing you. Because losing a Scorpio is not a simple loss. It is the collapse of a universe they didn't know they had built around your presence. This person has begun questioning everything about the way the two of you ended, replaying the timeline in their mind like a film they hope will reveal a different outcome if watched enough times. They analyze the miscommunication, the fear that made them retreat, the pride that kept them from reaching back out, the assumptions that poisoned the connection. And every time they revisit it, the weight of responsibility crushes them just a little more. They realize, slowly and painfully, that they walked away from something they didn't understand until it was too late. That they abandoned a connection whose depth frightened them only because they had never experienced something so real. And now, every moment of clarity feels like a punishment. A reminder that they are the one who broke something too powerful to replace. But the part they fear the most, the part they cannot confess even in the isolation of their thoughts, is that they still feel you, not metaphorically, not nostalgically. Energetically, they feel your shifts, your transformations, your silence, your distance. And every piece of growth you undergo seems to echo inside them, as if your souls are still tethered by a thread neither of you agreed to cut. This connection is not dead, it is dormant, pulsing quietly beneath the surface of your separate lives. And they sense, with increasing certainty, that something is drawing you back into proximity again. Something karmic, magnetic, unfinished. They do not know what will happen when your paths cross again. But they know this much, with terrifying clarity: they are not done with you. They have never been done with you. And no matter how far they run, their heart continues circling back to the same gravitational center that has always been you. And with each passing day, the pull grows stronger, as the connection tightens around them like an invisible bind. Scorpio. Something inside this person begins to shift in a way they can no longer ignore. Because the emotional gravity you hold over them does not weaken with time, it strengthens, deepens, expands into the parts of their mind they once believed were untouchable. At first, they tried to dismiss it as nostalgia, as a temporary attachment, as an emotional echo that would fade once they replaced the memories with new experiences. But the truth has revealed itself slowly and mercilessly the longer you are gone. The more present you become. You are not just a memory in their chest, you are a pulse under their skin. A hum beneath every quiet moment. A shadow that moves with them even when they believe they've finally outrun you. What unsettles them most is realizing that the connection has grown stronger despite the silence. As though distance is the very thing feeding the intensity rather than killing it. They feel you in places where they should not feel anything. In moments where you should no longer exist. And this unnerves them because the sensation is not sentimental, it is visceral. They sense your emotional shifts the way someone senses a sudden change in weather. They know when you pull your energy back from the world. They know when your heart closes. They know when you detach, when you heal, when you transform. And each one of these shifts sends a quiet panic through their system because the more you evolve, the farther out of reach you seem. And the fear of losing access to you forever begins to anchor itself inside their ribs. They never intended to stay connected this long. Never intended to feel you from a distance. Never intended to let you become the reference point their heart returns to. Yet here they are, living in the aftershock of a bond they cannot sever. There is a growing urgency rising in them now. A sense that if they do nothing, if they remain silent, if they allow pride or fear to keep them frozen, they will lose you not to someone else but to your own evolution. They imagine you rising into a version of yourself more powerful, more magnetic, more self-possessed than ever. And the thought of someone else stepping into the emotional space they abandoned devastates them in a way they are ashamed to admit. They feel the timeline splitting, one path where they stay silent and watch you disappear into a future without them, and another path where they confront the truth they have been avoiding, swallow their pride, and find their way back to you before the window closes. This possibility terrifies them because it forces them to face the consequences of their own choices. The original connection between you may have broken at the surface, but beneath that surface, it never died. It hardened. It expanded. It embedded itself into the deeper layers of their being. And now it demands action, demands acknowledgement, demands resolution. Scorpio energy does not tolerate unfinished business. And you carry that truth inside you like a rule the universe must follow. They feel this rule pressing against them every time they try to imagine their future. Because no matter what scenario they construct, it always traces back to you. They may have tried to deny it, but denial has turned into exhaustion. And exhaustion has turned into clarity. The truth is simple and terrifying. They are not over you because their story with you was never meant to end where it did. The silence between you is not closure. It is a pause. The distance is not goodbye. It is a recalibration. Something larger than fear. Larger than pride. Larger than logic is pulling them back toward you. And with every passing day, they feel that pull tightening with a sense of inevitability. Whether they are ready or not, the connection is waking up again. And they can no longer pretend they don't feel it. And now, Scorpio, as the final threads of resistance unravel inside this person, the connection that they once tried so desperately to bury begins rising with a force they can no longer deny. A force that feels less like longing and more like destiny reclaiming its shape. They have reached the point where pretending does nothing but exhaust them. Where silence feels heavier than every word they were afraid to say. Where the life they built after you suddenly feels too small, too quiet, too hollow to contain the truth that has finally surfaced. They still want you. They never stopped wanting you. And no amount of distance, distraction, or denial has been strong enough to dilute the imprint you left on their soul. What terrifies them most is not the possibility of reaching out, but the realization that not reaching out feels like a greater loss than anything that could happen if they tried and failed. This is the moment when the fear that once held them back begins to shift into fear of missing the chance entirely. Because they can sense more viscerally than logically that your absence has shaped you into someone even more powerful, more self-contained, more difficult to access. They know your heart does not stay open forever. They know Scorpio evolves quickly. And once you cross a threshold of emotional healing, you do not look back. They feel the urgency like a clock ticking inside their chest, warning them that if they hesitate too long, the version of you they hope to return to will be gone, replaced by someone stronger, more selective, more distant, someone who no longer needs what they once offered. This possibility terrifies them more than rejection ever could. Because losing you permanently would mean losing the only person who ever made them feel fully alive. They replay the words they should have said, the apologies they never voiced, the moments where pride silenced the truth inside them. They imagine what would happen if they came back to you now, whether you would listen, whether you would forgive, whether your eyes would still soften the way they once did, or whether they would find only the coldness that comes when a Scorpio has truly let go. And yet, even in the face of these uncertainties, something larger than fear keeps pushing them forward. The connection feels unfinished, unresolved, suspended in the air between you like a door that was never meant to close. They begin to feel the gravity of that door calling them, drawing them, demanding that they return and confront what they abandoned. This person is preparing for a moment they once swore they would never allow themselves to face. The moment where they step out of their silence and reach toward you. Not with the careless impulsivity of the past, but with the weight of everything they have realized since losing you. They want to explain what they did not understand before. They want to tell you how deeply the absence of you carved itself into their daily life. They want to rewrite the ending they regret more than they dare say aloud. But more than anything, they want the chance to stand in front of you again, to look into your eyes and see if the bond that still owns them lives in you too. And Scorpio, whether you are ready or not, whether you want this or not, whether you will take them back or shut the door for good, the return is coming. They cannot resist the pull anymore. Their heart has already made the decision. Their mind spent months avoiding. They are coming back because the story between you never ended. It simply paused until both of you transformed into versions capable of facing it fully. And when they finally appear, carrying all the fear, longing, regret, and truth they have held in silence, the question will no longer be whether they want you. The question will be whether you still want them.